This is Stories from Elsewhere, a place for strange, unexpected, and revealing tales from here and beyond.
This is Scott Glassman, and welcome back to Stories from Elsewhere. This story is about grief, orchids, and Egypt. My father loved orchids, especially toward the end of his life, cared for so many different varieties of them, and I am always astounded by the beauty of an orchid in full bloom. Just the precision and symmetry of the flower is incredibly awe-inspiring and uplifting. And healing in many ways. It's part of how I connect with his memory whenever I see one. This is The Secret Language of Orchids.
The pink moth orchid bloomed again after its long sleep of barren branches and stagnant aerial roots to tell Cleo what it wanted her to do. For months, it hovered close to death and would have succumbed if not for the quiet pull of kitchen sunlight through the open blinds and the Sunday sips of water Cleo gave its broad green leaves like a dutiful nurse, always measuring out a quarter cup with precision. An orchid bud, when it opens, shows you the mouth of the infinite, a perfect symmetry of pastel colour and secret light, as if gathered over great stretches of time for one last glorious exhalation through its lip and column and petals. Cleo's orchid, the only one she had ever cared for, the one she inherited from her mother upon her passing, delivered its message that morning with clear voice. By its simple fire of hypnotic pink, it asked that Cleo go to the Giza Plateau in Egypt and find the northeast shaft of the Great Pyramid and follow it down to the Hall of Two Truths. This came not as a suggestion, but an order, a command Cleo could not shake off in her sleep. It would never let her enjoy the sound of birds or an open-ended afternoon on the patio again. It would repeat itself until she obeyed. The gravity of a life accumulated and organized with meticulous attention to detail no longer held Cleo in a secure orbit. Not her town, not her neighborhood, not her house, not her children, she had none, not her days reading romance novels on a small, cracked concrete patio. Not any of it. Her husband passed away 3 years earlier from a cardiac arrest. Now the moth orchid had bloomed after 2 long years of desolation, and it had spoken. And so she felt compelled to follow its instructions. She thought of what her father said when talking about Vietnam. The shadow of it had turned him to stone. "If and when you're called," he said, "you go, without question." He almost died from stepping on a landmine in Quang Tri Province while stopping to tie up his bootlaces. He lost himself in the bottle upon returning home. His life had become a finger painting of black ink thumbprints. And one day, to no one's surprise, he decided enough was enough. Cleo felt like Alice falling down the rabbit hole. When she stepped off the plane in Cairo, she got swept into the river without a raft into a world that moved twice as fast. A man at the luggage carousel asked if she needed a taxi, and she said yes without thinking. Unofficial drivers in Cairo made their living overcharging people like Cleo, who wandered through the airport with that uncertain look. But the tall, thin man who introduced himself as Tarek had a gentle steadiness to him, as though he were an extension of the earth, a thread leading down into 1,000 years of solidity and truth. Distinguishing himself from the others, he said he had 3 children to support and would never take advantage of his customers since he knew he could pay a heavy fine for it and bring shame upon his family. He warned Cleo to remain vigilant, to watch out for the scam artists, those who promised her a great deal or who offered her gifts, which, if she accepted, would lead to an immediate demand for money. Tarek placed Cleo's bag in the trunk of his beaten-up Chevy Lanos and asked her where she wanted to go. She said the northeast side of the Great Pyramid. "Because I need to get under the earth there," she explained. Tarek had heard about a new excavation on the northern side of the pyramid and asked if she meant that one. "I think so." "Are you an archaeologist?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "Something like that." "Would anyone be working there on a Saturday?" asked Cleo. Tarek said probably not, but it would be guarded, and she would need to show her credentials to get through. "I don't have any credentials yet. A mix-up or something, but I'll explain that once I get there." They arrived at a 400-foot square cordoned-off area on the northern side of the pyramid shortly after 1 p.m., the sun holding court in the desert, as it often did in June, as if to preserve an unpopulated space reminiscent of time's beginning. Tarek asked if Cleo wanted him to translate for her as they approached the guard, an older man with hard eyes and a long black beard. He wore a navy blue galabea, a couple sizes too big for him. Tarek said he would ask for an extra £4 for the service, and Cleo agreed, happy to have someone she could trust at her side. As Tarek expected, the guard did not want to let her through. Cleo looked at Tarek for guidance, and he shrugged, as if to say, "You've got a minute to come up with something." After a brief hesitation, Cleo placed her hands on her hips, threw back her shoulders, and explained that their dig team had found the Hall of Two Truths. She described it as large enough to fit a 747 in it, about a kilometre down. She needed to bring back a sample of the rock for testing before they restarted their excavation on Monday. Still a little suspicious, the guard said something quickly in Arabic. "He's asking what you're looking for," said Tarek. Cleo blurted out the first thing that came to her mind. Evidence of the use of advanced technology. He nodded and took down the chain, gesturing to Tarek to go with her. The dig team had excavated a larger shaft around the original so it could accommodate a person. A full body harness and winch stood off to the side. Cleo grabbed a flashlight on the ground, stepped into the harness, and asked Tarek to help her secure it, which he did. "Okay, you need to lower me down and stay here until I tug the line." "You won't leave me down there?" He promised he wouldn't. The descent into the darkness of the shaft brought Cleo back to the haunted house ride on the Long Branch boardwalk she went on as a child with her mum. That first 50 feet or so of pitch-black darkness the same, remembering how her little hand squeezed her mum's for comfort. Cleo's stomach curled into a knot. As she descended, she noticed a stream of cool air coming up from the bottom of the shaft. After about 15 minutes, the narrow sides of the shaft gave way to a vast room, Cleo's feet touching the ground soon after. She undid the harness and snapped on the flashlight to find 3 round stone pillars evenly spaced about 100 yards apart, and in between 2 of them, an enormous statue of a man with the head of a dog, wearing gold armlets, a gold collar, and holding a gold scepter curved in a hook at the top. Cleo closed her eyes, asking the orchid, which always travelled with her and sometimes spoke when she needed it to, What do I do? Bow before Anubis, it said. He will judge you. What do I need to be judged for? She asked. You know, it said. And she did. She went back to it in her mind, saw it unfolding in slow motion. One August day, Cleo's neighbour, Henrietta Gunderson, saw Cleo coming home with a bag of groceries, meandering up her walk as though in a fog. Henrietta seized upon the opportunity. She stormed up to Cleo and began complaining about the wild boxwoods reaching their shaggy branches over their property line. Are you going to do anything about them? When will you cut them back? My husband nearly got his eye scratched trying to mow the lawn on that side, you know. You need to take care of your property. Cleo just stared at her and didn't say anything. Underwater, the weight of her groceries and anchor dragging her down to the bottom of the Pacific. She had just learned, on her way back from the supermarket that morning, of her mother's death. A curt phone call from the assisted living facility. And here was Henrietta, a huffing, red-faced dragon arrived at her stoop, as if summoned to twist the knife, breathing her fire of contempt, to which Cleo responded with blankness, as anyone might when they first peer over the edge of that volcanic netherworld of solitude, the realization of its permanence, the last of her family gone. You need to fix it soon. It's a hazard, Henrietta snapped, and with one final snort, skulked back to her house, disappearing around a side garden and into her garage. Cleo stared a while at Henrietta's thriving summer tomato plants in that side garden, 5 feet tall now, seeming to mock her desolate life with their healthy red fruits. After a sparsely attended funeral, the months melted away. 3, then 6, then 8, and with the unclipped boxwood still leering at the side of the Gundersons' house, Cleo stopped ruminating about the doorstep confrontation. She had written down Henrietta's weekday morning departure times and evening arrivals so she could avoid her. A part-time job at the library and weekend romance novels on the back patio kept Cleo's mind busy enough. However, on the Sunday that marked the first anniversary of her mother's death, at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, the orchid's first pink bloom appeared, and it spoke to her. It told her what she needed to do. Cleo walked calmly to the side of the Gundersons' house, and with both hands grabbed the first of the 4 celebrity tomato plants at the bottom. She squeezed it tightly, bending it toward her for leverage, feeling the thick stalk crimp at a 90-degree angle. She then gave it a good, hard pull, and it came out much easier than she expected, compliments of the special compost soil Henrietta used. Cleo tossed it aside and took hold of the next one, ripping that one out in the same way and throwing it on top of the other one. Once Henrietta saw what Cleo was doing through the small side window of the garage, she flew out like a crazed hornet, garden hose in hand. But it was too late. All 4 plants lay on the grass, side by side. Henrietta shouted expletives as Cleo stood there over the plants, blank-faced. Eventually, Cleo turned and walked slowly back to her house, with Henrietta continuing to yell. She went inside, locked the door, and floated into the kitchen. She looked for a long time at the happy pink orchid on the top bamboo shelf by the sliding door. Cleo felt the warmth of its colour spreading through her body, relaxing her muscles, slowing her heart, steadying her breath. "Mom, you can go home now," Cleo said to the orchid. "I'm all right. I'll be fine." In the warehouse-sized room,
with a single narrow beam of illumination trained on the 8-foot-high god of embalming and protector of the dead, Cleo gathered the courage to ask Anubis what he thought of her encounters with Henrietta. "So, what's the verdict?" Silence. Nothing. She asked again. Then she heard a hoarse voice echoing off the walls. "I do not judge," Anubis said. "You must go to Osiris for that. I just weigh your heart after it is removed from your body." The idea of having her heart extracted did not prove nearly as distressing as the thought of having to repeat the whole story of Henrietta and the tomato plants to someone new. "And where is this Osiris?" Cleo asked. "I'd rather not have to go through all this again." "Go to the hall underneath this one," Anubis whispered. Cleo sighed and shined her flashlight around the room, looking for an access point, another air shaft. In the far left corner of the room, she spied a rectangular opening in the floor. She approached with caution. She got down on her knees at the edge, aimed her flashlight down, and saw that the dig team had placed a ladder there. Cleo climbed down about 200 feet and found herself in a room twice as large as the one with Anubis. In the center of it, on an ebony throne, sat a pharaoh-like figure with green skin, tightly wrapped in white linen up to his neck, wearing a tall white crown adorned with 2 large ostrich feathers on either side. A gold scale stood beside the throne, a white feather centered on one of the plates, the other one empty. Cleo now recalled what Anubis had mentioned, that her heart would be weighed, and she started having a panic attack, her chest tightening, heart racing, unable to catch her breath. "Calm down," Osiris said. I can't." "Take a couple deep breaths." Cleo knew she needed to squeeze something, a cold or rough sensation to ground her. Any connection to the physical world would do. She grabbed onto Osiris's linen-wrapped foot and squeezed. "Fine, if you need to do that," he said. "You've come to confess. Anubis has communicated this to me." "Yes, I guess that's what I've come to do, even though I don't want to. I've already gone through it." "You must do so to the 42 assessors gathered around," said Osiris. Sure enough, along the far walls stood figures of different heights, some like pharaohs, others with the heads of animals, a jackal, a falcon, a snake, a crocodile. 42 half-human judges. "That's just great," Cleo said. "You mean I have to go through what I did 42 more times?" "Yes, it's the only way to get the true measure of your heart," he said. "If your heart weighs more than the feather, then you have not lived in accordance with the cosmic order and may not continue into the afterlife." Cleo felt a jab of anger. "Cosmic order? I'm retired. I work part-time at a library. I read romance novels. I rarely see anyone anymore. I'm like an old orchid in a terracotta pot without blooms, not making waves, not doing much of anything. Like I'm already part of the quiet cosmic order." So, in light of that, I was thinking, how about you look into my memory, or whatever you need to do, and you can see for yourself, and we can skip all this weighing and judgment stuff, and I can go home, because I've done what the orchid told me I had to do. "Sorry, that won't work for us," Osiris said. "Okay, fine. What happens if, I fail the way in?" Cleo asked. Osiris hesitated,
and Cleo knew the answer wasn't good. If your heart is heavier, then Amit will consume it. Who's Amit? Cleo asked, panic rising up from her stomach again. Amit is the devourer of the dead. Cleo's eyes fell on one of the assessors closer to Osiris, with the head of a crocodile. She assumed that was Amit. Fantastic, Cleo said, the crocodile's yellow eyes bearing down on her. Truly fantastic. Once he consumes your heart, you will be deprived of the afterlife, Osiris explained. Cleo looked back toward the ladder, wondering if she could make a break for it. I already know after this life. I don't need another one, she told Osiris. Doesn't that change things? It has to, right? Maybe no weighing or eating of hearts is necessary. We don't have to do the whole judgment thing. But I'm afraid you must, Osiris said. Well, this is a bunch of... Well, you know what? Cleo said, feeling the energy in the air become sharper, as if filled with static electricity, the assessors leaning in, exerting a kind of compression. I've said what happened once, okay? What I did to Henrietta's tomato plants. I mean, it doesn't seem to warrant all this, does it? Am I sorry for it? Yes, somewhat. But if you look into my heart without taking it out of my body, which I hope will be the case, you'll see that I did it to honor my mother and abide by the wishes of the orchid. Is this the blue Egyptian lotus you speak of? Osiris asked. If it is, your fate has turned toward rebirth, for the lotus opens in daylight and closes at night, and you have not ventured into permanent night. Not yet, as far as I can tell. The lotus mirrors what glows true in your soul. Did I say orchid? I meant blue lotus. That's the one, Cleo said, touching me and glowing in my soul, sweetly bearing me back out of this underworld or limbo or whatever you call climbing up into the light, so I can reunite with my faithful driver Tarek and fly home to New Jersey. This Tarek who brought you, he must be judged as well. We must have his heart on the scale too, to see if it sinks beneath the feather. No, I can vouch for him. He's golden. A real, honest guy who doesn't take advantage of tourists like so many of his fellow taxi drivers. Ah, but we know of Tarek's indiscretions already, Osiris said, if not their full weight. Indiscretions? Tarek? That's ridiculous. I'm a great judge of people, and he's solid. I'm telling you, he is good. He steals from others, Osiris said. Are you sure we're talking about the same Tarek? Osiris confirmed that they were. We must remove his heart and weigh it for certainty, he said, sounding a little irritated himself now, not expecting Cleo to argue. This is unbelievable, said Cleo. I'm just going to leave, okay? I don't think I'm ready for the afterlife anyway. Becoming frustrated, Osiris's voice grew loud. He said it's either him or you. We're judging someone today. You choose. Okay. Just because you're so insistent, I'll go get him, said Cleo. She turned to head back to the ladder, certain they would take the opportunity to shoot lightning from their eyes to paralyze her, or open hidden floodgates to drown her. Because maybe they changed their mind and decided they wanted her on the scale and not Tarek, and since she was being difficult, they had to go to plan B. Cleo climbed the ladder as fast as she could, ran back to the harness past Anubis, and gave the line a hard pull, yelling, "I'm ready!" Back above ground, she told Tarek what Osiris had said, that they had requested his presence below. she did not explain why. Tarek shrugged and said it would cost her twice the amount he had originally proposed, 3 times if she wanted no questions asked. She agreed to 3 times. He demanded she give him her credit card to take down as a guarantee she'd follow through, which she also agreed to. Getting into the harness, he told her to start lowering him down, and Cleo said no problem. She realized she no longer felt bad about sending Tarek down to the 42 assessors. Once she felt slack in the line, the sign he had landed feet first in the Hall of Two Truths, she found the guard and asked him to call a taxi for her. Two months after Cleo arrived home, the orchid dropped its last bloom. The brown branches bare again, touching the sliding door as if still craving the indirect sunlight, the warmth of it, its aerial roots more silver than ever. Cleo looked at it and wept, because the orchid would not speak to her again for a long time. Once she had no more tears left, Cleo took the last of the fallen blooms to the book she had given her mum for her 80th birthday, the Reader's Digest Encyclopedia of Garden Plants and Flowers. She opened the hardback cover, placed the bloom among the 12 others inside, and shut it, setting both hands on top of it as it lay on the coffee table, and using her full weight to press down for a minute. Cleo had already chosen the evening, 7 days from then, 7 days until the next full moon. She had the supplies ready in her garage, a small shovel, a hand fork, a knee pad, and her 3 children, she called them, Anubis, Osiris, and Marlene, named after her mother. She left her garage door open that evening, and when the clock hit 2 a.m., she went down and started moving the supplies into place. Henrietta had not planted her side garden since their dust-up, or even touched the beds. Weeds of all kinds had grown knee-high. In the deep, affirming silence of night, lit by the flashlight of the full moon, Cleo went about pulling them and turning over the soil to reveal the rich, dark organic layer, pausing a moment to feel its potential. She dug 3 holes, each 12 inches wide and 12 inches deep, and lowered the celebrity tomato plants one by one into place. She took her time filling in the gaps around the root bases with extra soil she had bought, occasionally glancing up at the window of the bedroom where Henrietta and her husband slept. Soon, Anubis, Osiris, and Marlene stood secure in their new homes. When she got back to her bed, the clock at 3 a.m., Cleo found that she couldn't sleep. She closed her eyes and was back in the Hall of Two Truths. Osiris told her that they had reluctantly accepted Tarek into the afterlife, despite quite a bit of disagreement among the assessors and much pleading on his part. His heart neither fell below the feather nor rose above it. It was a first for them. So they offered what they called a delayed acceptance, allowing Tarek to return to his family and chart a new path, a more honest path, and live the remainder of the 31 years he had left on the earth in goodness, to the best of his ability. This gave Cleo a sense of peace, and she finally fell asleep. In her dream, the pink moth orchid in the kitchen had returned to full bloom. It said to her, "Go to your mother's grave in Locust Wood and bring me there. Set me in front of the headstone, and together we will recite the 30th passage from the Book of the Dead. O my heart, which I had upon earth, do not rise up against me as a witness. Then you will tell your mother of the amends time sometimes allows us, if it knows we will otherwise persist in our folly, or if it knows we've followed a calling down into the earth, like you did, alone. simply because you were told you had to.
For more adventures into the unknown, subscribe to Stories from Elsewhere at storiesfromelsewhere.com. Follow, comment, and share to help us grow. See you on the other side.